In 2002, Los Angeles producer Madlib was asked to participate in a documentary where he and other hip-hop producers would be flown out to Brazil to meet some of the country's most legendary bossa nova and samba percussionists and to explore the Brazilian music scene. Around this time, Madlib had been working with Long Island MC and producer MF Doom on a collaborative album at Madlib's studio in Los Angeles. He and Doom put a pause on their project so that Madlib could travel to Brazil for the documentary and pick up obscure Brazilian records to sample for the album. Madlib used his Boss SP303 and a portable turntable to make beat tapes in his hotel room in Brazil. But at some point on the trip, a tape containing demos he and Doom had made back in Los Angeles was stolen from his belongings and leaked to the internet. One of the most standout demos on this tape was a track called All Caps, which sampled background music from the police drama Ironside.
So nasty, it's probably somewhat of a travesty having you. Then you told the people.
Discouraged by the leak, Doom and Madlib shelved the album for about a year. Upon their return, however, they decided to re-record all of Doom's vocals with a deeper, more sinister delivery. Mad Villainy was released in 2004 to universal acclaim, and All Caps would go on to become not only the album's most beloved cut, but one of the most revered tracks in the history of hip-hop.
Just remember all caps when you spell the man name.
So this track, like the rest of Mad Villainy to my knowledge, was produced by Madlib on his Boss SP303. All stereo samples were brought down to mono, which can be easily done on the 303 by leaving the stereo button off while recording. The drums were taken from a track called Bumpin' Bus Stop by the group Thunder and Lightning. To help bring the drums to life, we're going to overload the input of the 303 and also record on the long setting to bring down the sample rate. Each of the samples for this track is sped up by about 2 2/3% before being sampled into the 303, including the TV show samples, which I'm guessing was done by first recording everything onto a cassette, then playing it back at a faster speed.
Get down with the bus stop!
Now let's add a little bit of EQ to boost the low and high frequencies.
Stop!
And now we can chop it down to just the loop, and we'll time stretch it down to 87 BPM.
Stop!
And that's our drum loop for the song. Now let's move on to the main samples. As I said before, All Caps is built around a sample from the show Ironside, specifically the Season 2 episode, The Macabre Mr. Macabre. So let's get that piano loop first. We'll need to use the isolator setting to adjust the tone of this sample a bit, and then we can chop the main loop out and time stretch it. Now let's get the main melodic part of the sample. One interesting thing I learned while making this video is that the part of the sample that sounds like a snare roll is actually the sound of a truck driving by from the Ironside episode. So we'll sample this fairly long section in and chop it into 2 samples to be time stretched independently, as the tempo drifts a bit and will sync up better this way. We'll use the same isolator settings as before. The sample at the end of All Caps actually comes from this same episode of Ironside during the opening credits sequence, so we need to grab that too. The last thing we need from this episode are 2 of the piano notes which loop rapidly a couple times in All Caps, and we're going to use a different isolator setting to darken this sample more than the others. That's it for the samples from Ironside, but we actually need to pull audio from another TV show. The intro to All Caps starts with a sample of some music and dialogue from the show The Streets of San Francisco, specifically the Season 3 episode River of Fear.
If there's nothing else, I'll go do the beds.
Once again, this is sampled with the isolator setting.
If there's nothing...
Madlib trimmed a bit of the middle of this sample out, so we'll make it into 2 different pads.
If...
Now we need to cut 2 extra pieces out of this main sample to layer over the track, so we'll resample them onto 2 new pads.
If there's no... If there's no...
And that's everything we need from the 303. The only other thing we're missing is the bass part, which I'm pretty sure was played on an actual bass guitar. I was planning on doing that for this video, but unfortunately, one of the pickups on my bass stopped working right as I started work on this video, so instead I'm going to play the part on the EPS 16 Plus. The bass is extremely difficult to discern in the mix, so I'm not 100% sure these are the notes being played, but it's my best guess. This loop pretty much plays for the entire song. I've got everything tracked out here into Logic now. An interesting thing I noticed in the original track is that the bass is hard panned left until around the 32-second mark, which I'm guessing means it was on a stereo track and they forgot to turn one of the faders up, but who really knows? Before I end the video, I want to let you guys know that I'm going to be selling CDs and vinyls of my beat tapes pretty soon, so be on the lookout for the announcement of those. Special thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. If you guys would like to support the channel, there's a link in the description to become a patron. I really appreciate anyone willing to support what I'm doing, even if it's just the $1 tier. My full remake of All Caps, including the stems, are available for download on my Patreon right now, so go check it out if you're interested.